What's up, my peoples? I'm once again in the middle of nowhere. We got a little break in the weather. High five. You can see slow down a little, right? It's a little cloudy, and we've had temperatures into the mid, stretching into the high 90s for about, I don't know, 14, 17 days with a little few breaks in between. So we finally got a weather break to where today's high is going to be no more than 83 degrees. So I decided I'm going to get out again and head back to the area I last explored and then extend that exploration today because of the fact that we got the weather break. So Lord knows we talked about these sand barges, and I'm a long ways from, not a long ways, but I'm a pretty good ways from where I was. And they're still carting that sand from God knows where. This river goes a long, long way out to the mountains there. Well, it kind of circles around. It's hard to describe, but obviously it's a huge transportation venue. And they're transporting a lot of sand from out here in the boonies to where they're developing, wherever that may be. So I came down a bunch of roads and I ended up on a sort of a kind of a road right up here, and I'm going to see how far it extends. And then I noticed this really old, ancient kind of road down here. And I took this as far as it will go. I think it went a little further through at some point, but it's been overgrown and there's no more going through that. So it circles around a little bit. And with the e-bike, with the fat tires and the suspension and everything and the power assist, you can crawl into these little places, these little areas. So this mountain range right here from my house, this one, and then this, like what looks like a little Chinaman's hat. Now from my patio, my upper patio, these two look like they're connected together, and that's why it looks almost exactly like Diamond Head in Waikiki, Hawaii. So I named it the Vietnamese Diamond Head. Big mountains here. Bana Hills, which I talk about as a landmark on the top of that mountain there. Those are huge mountains. Those are huge. These are okay. That one's pretty big. Anyways, still following along the river here to look for good fishing spots. And just following my Google Maps so I don't get too lost, and kind of sticking to larger main roads and then hitting a few little offshoots. So when I came down this road and curved down around here, curved left down and round to where I am now, I discovered that they're building a new bridge. A brand new bridge for the people to get across the river. Last time I talked about that scary suspension railroad trestle bridge that I had to cross, which I did again, and I'll have to do again on the way home. That scary thing. But I'm checking my Google Maps as far as cutting back and forth across this river system, this huge river, which flows through the heart of the area. And as I'm looking at my Google Maps to navigate, I'm like, where are all the friggin' bridges to cross back and forth, you know? Very, very few and significant distances away from each other. So I saw this new bridge being constructed, and I would say it's about 95% complete. They're almost done with this baby, and yeah, it's cool. I mean, it's awesome. Now the people can get across the damn river without having to drive 50 kilometers to do so. It's a start. They got a long way to go, my friends. They need about, along this river, this huge lengthy river, I would say they're short about 20 bridges. And this is another rant that I won't go too deeply into, but Vietnam has really got to get off its ass. And if they're going to develop the country like they claim in the news, which I personally pay a lot of attention to, they got to get going. Now this is a very nice bridge, nice way to get across the land and the area. You know, there are people living way back by these mountains here, and you know, they need ways to get across. And that includes transportation, you know, trucks and transporting goods and things of that nature. So this is a brand new, spanking new bridge, not yet open, but very close to completion. And this is a huge deal. There just needs to be a lot more of it. Because when you build bridges and roads, you get infrastructure creation, and, you know, it boosts up the economy, it boosts up the society, it helps the people that live in the area to open businesses and prosper. So, you know, Vietnam, they're just not doing it fast enough. And it's like really disappointing how slowly they're getting things together out here. I really, after all the years that I've been out here, and all the billions and billions of dollars that are pouring in here, you know, massive trade deficit, which has been in the news lately regarding Vietnam and America. You know, an annual trade deficit between the two nations has averaged over like the last decade $100 billion plus dollars, American US dollars, in favor of Vietnam. Now, to give you an example on those numbers for 2024, if you didn't read it in the news, Vietnam imported from America about $31 billion worth of goods. What does Vietnam import from America? They import fruits and vegetables, believe it or not. They import computer components to a degree, some technological things, a little bit of gas and oil, and some other things that I'm not quite sure of. About 31 billion. How much does Vietnam export to America in 2024? It was about $156 billion. So you're looking at a trade deficit of about $125 billion between the United States and Vietnam. So all this money has been pouring in over the last decade. This trade deficit has existed since America had economic and trade issues with China, and they shut them down. Their economy went belly up, and Vietnam stepped in to replace a lot of the cheap labor and cheap ability to build factories here in Vietnam and to manufacture a lot of products that get shipped out to America: furniture, sportswear, clothing, and Nike, Adidas, New Balance, sneaks, massive, massive, massive amounts of that. So I think America and Trump is trying to correct that business and see to it that the trade deficit is significantly balanced. And that spells trouble for Vietnam, but we don't need to go into that right now. Of course, part of my exploration, well, anyways, one last thing of note. So they have all this money pouring into the country, and it's helped to pull their society generally in the 90 percentile out of poverty within the nation of Vietnam. So very good, very good. Infrastructure development, modernizing your nation and its society in terms of infrastructure with roads and housing and apartments and stores and things that people need to help to usher them into a middle class lifestyle, middle class society, and start eliminating the lower class. Vietnam is 100 years away from that, my friends. But they've done a good job of pulling everyone out of poverty. People were making money based on that trade deficit. But based on the amount of money that has been pouring into Vietnam in the last decade, I would say it's easily close to $1 trillion. You would expect a significantly more massive amount of structural infrastructure, society, the whole kit and caboodle, ball of wax improvements. And I'm just not seeing it. This bridge is an example. It's one, they're about 20 short. Why is there not, for example, there's a lot of population traffic that goes through this area, hence that's why they're building this bridge, because it's necessary. You need another one here. If you turn down the river and go down a little ways there, you need another one there and another one there and 5 more down that way. It's just not happening, and it's confusing to me. So enough about that. Of course, much of my exploration has to do with finding fishing areas and fishing spots, and this is another one that I can utilize. If I go across the bridge and get down onto the other side, get past these little plants here. See that sandy area down there? I can crawl down in there. I can get up in here and set up my chair and my umbrella and throw out some fishing lines, some fishing poles, and I can catch fish. Good fish. I see a bunch of fishermen in small wooden boats all along the bank here. So they got something going there where it's like a fish drop-off or a boat drop-off and retrieval area, or it's just a spot that they stop to rest. I see a little bit of a pen enclosure there jutting out of the river where maybe they're holding the fish catch and have some sort of small fish holding farm thing there. Now, Vietnam is a land of contradiction. So on the one hand, I say, wow, that's cool, man. But then there's another part of me that says, bullshit, you should not be able to encroach upon the river with a giant net. to do as you please wherever you want. There has to be rules and regulations. There has to be law and order. And that's another thing that Vietnam is sorely lacking in, is that kind of infrastructure where people don't get away with anything they want. Some people will say, oh, there's a charm to it. It's kind of like returning back in time when people had freedom to utilize land and resources however they see fit. Well, we learned over the course of a few hundred years that that's not a good formula for the whole. So, like what I just showed you with the little fishermen, and looks like they built some kind of encampment and some kind of rickshaw, ricky-rack, ticky-tack fishing farm right there. The government, in my opinion, needs to come in and just clear that shit out and tell them, no, you don't get to do that. I'm gonna keep moving, so I wanted to stop here. I'm sure I'll start another vlog back up again shortly as I go out a little further. But this is fascinating. I love the fact that I got access to this waterway. Now, I can't crawl down here and fish. There's no way to get out there. It's very swampy and ew. But I see areas along the riverbank on the other side here that I can easily get to. Granted, now, because of the benefits of the e-bike and the power associated with it, I can strap my umbrella, which is pretty reasonable in size, my fishing poles, all my fishing gear, and my chair. I can strap all that to this horse and get me to where I need to go, which is out here and to a few other places. So to come out here early in the morning and fish all day and then power bank home on the e-bike is going to be great, and it's totally doable. So I carried the e-bike down here. I've got to carry it back up to this road and continue on my journey and for a short period, and then I'll head home.